speak because I've been waiting to ask this question. Throughout the earlier sessions, what I heard was that there is smart city, smart technology, smart government, but all this are being, well, the city is populated by the dumbest people in the world, and as Mr. Chu has pointed out, and I just wonder whether that works. Because if we say we have policy, we have smart technology, we instill a sense of complacency in the people, and somebody pointed out a rebound effect, which is a new term to me. It seems that when people get complacent, they will just abuse their own whatever rights or what have you. And it seems that as policymakers and as technologists, as good engineers, we are missing the most important point, and that is to appeal to the goodness in the heart of every person to respond morally to the crisis that we're facing. And I hope that the panel, the technologists, the policymakers, and the smart engineers can speak to this, to tell me whether, I'll tell the audience whether their little area of expertise is sufficient to really change the society and bring about a more sustainable growth. Thank you.
Any members would like to respond?
So actually, he's
making a comment.
Yes, you are well said, and nothing to say. But I don't think that we can do it alone, but we can do it together to fix the problem, right? That's the point.
Thank you for your comment or your statement. As Hong Kong government department and building public housing for 1/3 of the population of Hong Kong, we did have a great impact to the society. And we make use really of our opportunity because we not only design, we also plan, build, and then we also maintain and manage. So unlike other developers in Hong Kong, where after they build a private residential building, they will go away and sell it to the owners and leave it to the owners to work on their own. In our case, we work together with our tenants. So at every point in time, we'll work together with our stakeholders. With our residents, we use the smart meters, as I pointed out earlier on, and let them know well how good they perform in terms of their particular block they live in. With our contractors, we ask them or require them to be certified to ISO 50001. At every point in time, we try to make use of opportunity to influence our stakeholders so that the impact created not only at the very end of the product, but from the very beginning.
Arthur?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with Hans' comment that it's a mindset issue, and we really need to change. In this aspect, actually, because you know, in the big organization change is not easy, and we need some way to initiate it. And actually, Schneider, as one of the 13 companies in the French Chamber of Commerce, we have started dialogue with the government, mostly the Development Bureau, and 5 departments, including Ireland's department, for the smart city and how we can adapt it to Hong Kong by sharing overseas reference and experience. So we call it Wise City, because smart city is overused, okay? So we call it Wise City, and actually you can feel free to go to wisecity.hongkong.hk, just .hk, and we have been in dialogue for over 1 year, and in the near future, in 13th of November, we have a symposium with the Hong Kong government, and with some overseas government like the Barcelona government speaking as well about smart city and how can it adapt to Hong Kong. It's a public event, okay? Just go there and you can register on that. It will show the result of our effort in the different areas like water, transportation, buildings, city platform about integrating all those together, so that at least we need to drive the different departments to accept these ideas and change some of their practice or change the concept, so that the way they do will reflect what they believe.
Okay, wise cities, smart cities, we need wise citizens. And in Switzerland, it's also clear we have on communal level, on cantonal level, and also on federal level, we have the possibility that the people says yes or no to every law, and also they make propositions. And for that, it's on communal level, we have big differences between cities, municipalities. They are some very green and others are not interested in that issue. And also when we want to change something on the federal level, for example, when we need a new law about liberalization of the electricity market, then the people said in 2002 no to that. And we have to accept it. And for us as civil servants, but also for the government, it's not easy to accept every decision of our parliament or of our people. But for us, it's clear the highest level is the people, and the people has to say what we have to do, and we have to accept it. For that, from time to time, we from the administration would go forward, but perhaps also the people says yes, and we have to accept it, also in the climate and energy issue.
Any other questions from the floor? 3 hands, and then maybe Dr. Cho, and then lady at the back, and then.
Actually, I'm very impressed with the wide range of green measures now implemented in our public housings for 30% of populations. I'm particularly impressed by the installation of what you call the smart meters. I presume that must be for electricity rather than for gas. And because Hong Kong hasn't got very low tariff, and we don't have a smart grid, we don't have demand response. So what's the function, purposes of these smart meters in the public housing? I'm talking about, maybe you talk about in every unit of the residence or for the whole buildings. So can you elaborate and clarify that? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Cho. Yes. Maybe I haven't presented the installation of smart meters too well. The smart meters is located at the ground floor lobby. So we use that particular smart meters to communicate with our residents. The smart meters will take care of the meter in terms of electricity and also gas and also water, the use of water, electricity and gas for the communal areas of that particular block, and how it compares with the neighboring block. So the tenants know very well how good they perform. We have also, we are planning to extend it not only to the communal areas, but also to all the units as a whole, not to each particular unit. That would be a bit too expensive. So this is only to be located at the ground floor lobby for the, as an information panel for the residents.
Supplemental question. Can one look at the internet and see the information as well? Or is that something you're thinking about doing for the future? Because if you could log on at your home and see it rather than go to the lobby, that'd be nice.
That is a very good suggestion. We'll think about that.
So we'll take 2 questions in one go.
Also about the housing authority, because you are housing 1/3 of the population of Hong Kong. And it's really good that you take the leadership to install this solar PV panel in 19 estate, but that's the only one project so far since 2009. So is there any plans to have more solar PV panel in the new buildings or in the old buildings? And also because there's a research, a recent public research showing that actually if all the rooftops in Hong Kong, feasible one, install the solar PV panel, it could provide 14.2% of 2011's total Hong Kong electricity consumption. So will the housing authority as a government body to take the lead to install more RE in Hong Kong?
Yes, so thank you for the question. As for the PV panel in the Lambton Estate, we have two types of PV system. One is located at the garden area, I would say, or near the covered walkway system. That is very much an educational way of educating our tenants. We do have PV panel system starting in the year 2011 or so in our new public housing design. That is located at the rooftop, at the 40th floor. Besides, we take out the refuge area, which is a requirement under the FSD or building regulations. The rest of the areas will be taken up by the PV panel. We are studying different types of PV panels, such as monocrystalline, polycrystalline, and so on, and see which is the best type to be used in Hong Kong, in a Hong Kong context. In terms of generating electricity, I must say the result is not really that good in that sense. It only produces about 1.5% electricity for use in the communal area. But we are still using, this is still a housing policy that in all our new designs, we will install PV systems at the rooftop of our residential buildings. For existing blocks, we do not have such plans because if we need to install PV panels, we need to take it loading in the earlier design. In our old blocks, we haven't taken that into consideration there, so there is a difficulty in implementing in the original or existing estates.
Yes. And then Murray. And then the gentleman in the back.
Still me, still with the European Union, still a newcomer, so still allowed to ask silly questions. I'm an economist. I believe that the vast majority of people, to a large extent, should behave like economic rational operator. And if this is so, then I think that to change mindsets, the best way is to provide economic incentives or to apply economic disincentives, so to tax behaviors that you want to cut down and to subsidize behaviors that you want to favor. My belief has been shaken since I came to Hong Kong because energy costs, electricity bills are not exactly cheap. So how come that those who pay the bills, be these commercial users or residential users, do not try to limit the damage? Why is the pricing mechanism not working? Why is the pricing signal getting lost? And this is not just an academic question. I mean, we all talk about CO2 taxation as a solution, to save the planet. But if the pricing mechanism doesn't work, then the CO2 taxation and other pricing mechanisms will not work. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll take Murray's question as well.
Yeah, Maren, yes. A question that's kind of covered both bases, trying to steer it away from the housing in Hong Kong situation, but it's coming from that direction. But what are some of the major steps to get big improvements in energy efficiency if in your country that there is public housing? Because as a local resident in a village, we've been challenged by the design that they're putting up for the new housing that still has a lot of external lighting that we think is not needed in a rural situation. This is Mui Wo, for example, I'm using. So has there been any discussions on the lighting on the outside of buildings? But I think that's a small one, because as we talked before, I'm still not aware of double glazing and good insulation required in the construction of these new housing estates that are happening. What were the savings that you've seen or experienced from the industry or that, but what can we do? Because if we're hearing 1% for a solar panel on the buildings, applying only the front door lighting basically and a bit of guarding, what's the point of doing that one? I think we'd be better off putting money in other areas. So I'm interested for the panelists. across the response areas, please.
We'll take the question from the gentleman at the back as well. And then the panel members will respond in one go.
Howard Pang from Arab. My question is, well, obviously the pricing, it seems to me the government, that there's not enough will to reform or adjust the tariff. Recently I heard about an offshore wind farm that could be built in Hong Kong that would raise the price of electricity by the cost of a cinema ticket to the general public. And the position of the government was a resounding no. And the recent public consultation has no agenda for renewable energy. The choice was between building more power plants in Hong Kong or buying more electricity from China. And what is your opinion on what can be done to tackle this apparent white elephant in the room? And is there any prospect in doing so?
Thank you. Thank you for all the questions. And then any panel members would like to pick any one of the questions and respond? Anybody? All very challenging, seemingly very challenging questions, and the panel members will have to think about, should I go first? Maybe I'll invite Mrs. Deng to share a little bit first.
I'll try to answer the questions on the electricity, the use of lighting, and also the glass aspects. In terms of electricity, lighting systems, we noticed in our old buildings we did turn on the lights at the staircase, even at the night time. And this is one of the reasons is mainly because of the security, safety issues. But after getting comments from various, from different fronts, what we are designing now is we use photo sensor or motion sensor. And in response to the very free access, which was enacted in the year 2008, we are actually asked to raise the lighting level in the lift lobbies and corridors, if you notice that. And that has actually raised the electricity consumption quite a bit, such as they required 80 lux in the lift lobby, and which under normal situation, we really don't need that type of lighting level. So what we did in our design, we invented the 2-level lighting system. So if I am a visually impaired person, I need to have a higher lux when I get back from the lift lobby to my flat. I will press a button in the lift lobby, and that will raise the lux from the present, I think it's 35 lux to 80 lux. So it will be there for about 5 minutes or so, just enough time for me to get from the lift lobby to my flat. And also from my flat, I can also press a button if I need to go out. I can also turn on this lighting outside from 35 to 80. So that saves a lot of energy by about 30%. About the use of glass, you have quite rightly pointed out that we're using just clear flowed glass for the time being. And because of the Hong Kong climate, we are working on the use of low E glass. But the problem with that is the cost is about 3 to 4 times much higher than clear flowed glass. So, and the technology itself is not that stable because we are looking at the market from China, because we need to look for a reasonable price product. So we're still working on that, and if we can find out a product that is reasonable in terms of cost, we will try and pilot the use of it in one of our projects before we make it a policy that we will use low E glass. So that's the way we're heading.
Han, would you like to respond?
Sorry, no challenge, no offense, it's just sharing and discussion. When we're talking about smart city or wise city, or the reasoning price, it doesn't fully equal to sustainability. In the past, no offense, in the past, the Hong Kong government really embraced the GDP growth, so allow for the two power company to use fossil fuels to generate electricity. It may be cheap, or the price is reasonable, but the environmental, we sacrifice something. But of course, I admit that the two power company has done a great job. That's why we can have a low electricity price. Okay, so unless we change our mindset, no matter the mindset, but also the electricity bill, we really have to increase that a little bit. Otherwise, we don't have the incentive to push the mindset change for one hand. But of course, we are understanding that the political challenge in Hong Kong nowadays, no matter on the MOT or the current situation, it's not easy for the government to raise the electricity bill or to break down the so-called manipulate by the two power company in this stage. So, but at least for the government, it still has the room to speed up and tighten the standard, at least for the building energy efficiency. Yeah, that's how I would like to say.
So would Dr. Steinmann or Mr. Loy would have any likes to share?
First of all, to a colleague from the European Union, I'm also an economist, and I hope that we will have success with our approach. But I'm not sure if really all goes in that direction. Because also in Switzerland we have, in these cases, to have the acceptance from the citizens. And when we talk about 1 liter of gasoline, about 10 to 12 Swiss francs, I'm not sure if we find a majority. Because not all Swiss are really economists and think that's the right way. Because mobility is one of the accepted things that every person wants to have. And to have high prices is not accepted really from the majority of the people. So we have to go step by step. Second, when we discuss about houses, I think first of all we have to accept that houses are more and more an integrated system. And we have not only to look about 2 or 3% photovoltaic. We have to look the whole system and to look what we can do. And when we in Switzerland try to go in a new direction, we make lighthouses. And perhaps also for your administration, it could be interesting to try to have a few examples of houses with no or nearly no energy emission, energy consumption. And we also know that you can use photovoltaic cells. For example, this from Mr. Gretzel, that you can use as integrated system, that you can build walls with that, because you can look through that. These are new technologies, and we have to test them, and we have to look what is possible with these new technologies. These are 2 comments.
Thank you.
I also have 2 comments. We did quite some of the energy management projects in Hong Kong, and actually one of the difficulty is that when you calculate the return on investment, in Hong Kong you don't get as good a return on investment as the other cities. Mostly because, relatively speaking, the price, the electricity price is not that high, and then that's why you don't, the saving you get is not that much in terms of dollar amounts. The second is that, as Dr. Steinmann says, we need to be really down to earth when we talk about energy saving. That's why when you compare each different systems, how much energy is used, and maybe over what time period, then you can find out where you can do the saving. It can be different across different buildings, and different industries. So there's not a set rule that, okay, you do this and you say that for your operation. It's different. So that's why you need to have the knowledge about where your energy is spent in order to find out where you can save. So right now, I don't see that we have this in a big scale. We have some, like in some of our commercial case, like some retail chain, we compare the energy, the spending across the different stores. Okay, so they have little stores everywhere, and then they find that how come one of the stores, it's like even at night time, the energy usage is similar to the daytime. Okay, and then they find out, okay, it's because, okay, some of the operators, they forgot to turn off the air conditioning, or they turn it off, but when some people come in to replenish their stock, they turn it on and forgot to turn it off again. So these kind of little things will add up and amount to the energy that you use. But you can't find out until you have some kind of measure.
We have time for one last question.
I've got a question towards the Swiss side and the Hong Kong side, and it's about the power production companies. And basically those companies, they produce electricity and they sell it, and they want to sell as much as possible and make as much profit as possible, I assume. This is the business model. And now the question towards Dr. Steinmann and towards the Hong Kong side, I don't know to whom to address it directly, is what is the role of those power production companies in both countries or both places? Do they cooperate on the way to a more efficient energy world, or do they rather do the opposite? And how are they owned?
Well, Dr. Steinmann could...
Well, I told it before, Swiss power companies are 85% owned by public owners, cantons and municipalities. The majority of them is in favor of our energy strategy. A lot of municipalities and their utilities are going in that direction and work together with us with a certain label called Energy Cities, and they have targets what they want to do. And they are in change not only to produce energy and electricity, but also to give advice to consumers and to have good examples for energy efficiency. For example, in the city of Zurich, when you have signed a contract with this agency for the economic sector, then you have a reduction of electricity price of 1 cent. That means it makes sense to reduce your electricity and energy consumption. That's a good example of a utility that is working in favor of our strategy.
Well, for the Hong Kong bit, and then I know that maybe some members in the audience may be able to address the Hong Kong side issues. Anybody in the audience would like to receive?
So thank you for the question. Coming from Hong Kong Electric, one of the 2 power companies. Certain clarification. Number one, well, actually, the more we sell both actually COV and NS, that doesn't mean we could earn more, because what we could earn is basically a following mechanism on return on assets. So probably not too related. It probably would have some impact on the tariff structure, but definitely not. And in fact, for our tariff structure, I think both companies also have a system to encourage saving. That means, for example, the lowest tier for us, comparing with the top tier, there will always 80% difference in the tariff. So that hopefully could encourage the residential users to pay more attention on the energy saving. Regarding the incentives or any support in helping the community or the public to get more cautious about energy saving. Actually, both companies have been trying to do a lot in both public education and also the actual promotion. And in fact, we are providing free energy audits for all our non-residential customers. So whoever wish to need or to get our help, so we are more than willing to send our engineers to perform a proper energy audit for them and submit the report to see where they could save energy. And starting from July this year, actually the two power companies in the coming 5 years together with this year, 2040, we expect would probably get about 100 million Hong Kong dollar out from the energy efficiency incentive which we could earn, and turn into a fund to sponsor the energy efficiency improvement work in all the residential buildings. So hopefully that could make the people more getting more aware of the energy saving and the conservation issues. So hopefully they could address your query. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yi. Any members in the audience would like to add anything? Okay. Well, I looked at my watch again, and then time is short, running out, and then I would like to close this panel discussion. And thank you so much for the panel members for making the presentations and letting us know what's been done, and not just the positive efforts, but in terms of wasting our energy. How we can move forward, and I think is the community will have to be engaged in this dialogue, continuous dialogue with the government and with other stakeholders. And I hope that we will, Civic Exchange will continue to engage you in the community to continue this conversation, to show to the government that we are concerned about this issue and we want to have a dialogue, meaningful dialogue with you to see and how we can chart a sustainable energy policy for Hong Kong. Thank you very much for your participation. And as I mentioned earlier, we are going to produce a meeting and forum summary, and which will be uploaded and available online, and then we'll let you know by emails. And then for these presentation materials, upon the permission given by all the presenters, we'll also upload them to our website, and we'll also let you know. Thank you very much, and give them applause.